In July, asked to increase the minimum wage in Tacoma to $20 per hour and guarantee employee schedules and their pay, among many other provisions. The problem is, the last day for the city to send resolutions to the Pierce County Elections Office was on August 5th, 3 days before their council meeting.
Cal Raleigh's 43rd homer of the season gave the Mariners a 3-2 win over the Tampa Bay Rays last night. That's 5 straight victories for Seattle. It's the M's and Rays again tonight at T-Mobile Park. Another Chamber of Commerce day around the region. Mostly sunny and a high near 80. Clear and 60 overnight. More sun and the mid-80s tomorrow. Then more of the same on Monday.
Northwest News Radio traffic, sponsored by Northwest Crawl Space Services.
Starting to see some backups now on northbound I-5 as you approach the Ship Canal Bridge starting before 520. Most of this is related to the road work that's on the Ship Canal Bridge, not affected by any accidents or stalled vehicles on the bridge itself. If you can jump in the express lanes, those are moving much faster to get you across the Ship Canal. Southbound, it's heavy traffic as you come south from 50th Street. Nothing unusual there, and it won't slow you that much. It'll just be a lot of congestion as you move into downtown. There's a 2-hour wait at the Edmonds end of the Edmonds-Kingston Ferry right now. If you're heading to Edmonds, stay off of 104. That's where everyone's backing up. Use 524 instead to get into Edmonds this morning. They're also down a boat on the Triangle Ferry route this morning and will be for the remainder of the day. So they're running 2 boats on the Triangle Ferry. That's going to delay you a bit if you're using that ferry route, so take that into account. Other than that, the ferries are generally running on schedule this morning with no other major problems. In the Northwest News Radio Traffic Center, I'm Brian White.
Find the best signal for listening to Northwest News Radio on our app. And while you're there, enter to win all kinds of exclusive prizes with Northwest News Radio app awards. What you need to know. Northwest News Radio, 97.7 AM 1000.
The following program was paid for by LifePoint Law and does not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of News Radio management or staff.
Aging Options, how can we help?
It's time to know your options and master your future. My life, my plan, my way. LifePoint Law presents Aging Options with elder law attorney and life planning coach Rajiv Nagaich. Health, housing, finance, legal, and family. Know your options. Aging Options is not a law firm, but Rajiv is a lawyer. You should not reveal things you wish to keep confidential in this public setting. This program offers general advice. Having your questions answered does not constitute an attorney-client relationship. Contact your attorney or other professional to discuss your unique needs before taking any action related to the subjects discussed in this program. Now, here is nationally recognized retirement planning authority and host of national public television program, Master Your Future, Rajiv Nagaich.
And welcome to Aging Options, another great edition where we are going to talk about what? Your retirement, your future, how to make sure that you are going to succeed in retirement. And of course, as we do each week, we have Brian, who is co-driving this flight with us.
I would prefer if you referred to me as your lovely assistant. Because it's your show and you have all this information. And I feel like, Rajiv, every week that I sit in here with you, I learn something new. And I think that message over and over again is that it's not too late to get started on planning for your future.
It is never too late, Brian. And you know, that is the theme that we talk about, really. And each week, here's how the show is set up, right? We have each week, Tony Boland takes his time to go scour the internet, figure out as to what's going on. I send him stories during the weekdays, and he looks at the stories, and we come up with the 4 key things that we think you should be paying attention to. With everything that's going on in this world, in this country, whether you're for it or whether you're just distraught over it, it is real. This is what we're dealing with. So here are the 4 stories for this week. The first one talks about the Medicaid work requirements under the big, beautiful bill, if you will, right? What are those? I mean, if that impacts you, are you getting health insurance coverage through Obamacare? You're not working. Is that going to impact you? If you have any questions, give us a call. We can talk about that. But that's the first story we talk about. The second story is talking about this article about the 5 big money mistakes that people make. which just means that you're delaying your retirement. And these are not the mistakes that you want to make, because if you know what the mistakes are, then you can easily overcome that. But here's a spoiler alert. The biggest mistake is not even on this article. So we'll talk about the single biggest mistake people make when it comes to money as it relates to retirement planning while you're working or even in retirement.
Wait, so you issued a spoiler alert, but you didn't do the spoiler?
Yeah, that's right. It's a spoiler alert.
We call that a tease.
The spoiler is going to be coming up, or this is a tease,
Yeah, there it is.
whatever you call it in the radio jargon. But the single biggest financial mistake that people make, that you probably are going to end up making when it comes to retirement planning around finances. What is that mistake? We'll talk about that. And then there's another story about for the most purposeful retirement. Take time to reimagine your future. And this is really near and dear to me because I'm looking at a lot of people. I think, when you think about retirement, you get all sorts of isms, if you will. People have their own ideas about what retirement is. There's a whole group of people who say, no, I can't wait to retire because I saw my boss retire a little bit too late and then he just died when he retired. And so I don't want to be that person. Other people are saying, well, no, I want to retire early because I've got this bucket list I have to work with. So, there's all sorts of reasons to go ahead and retire. But what does retirement really look like when you actually are retired? And for this, Brian, if you will, I want to hear from people. If you are in the audience, if you have been retired for more than 5 years, I want to hear from you. I want to know, is retirement everything that you thought it was cracked up to be? Are you having a challenge with what to do with your time? Because this article really is talking about that particular issue, that most people are going to retire to a bucket list. For the first 2 or 3 years, they'll have lots to do on their hand. But slowly but surely, time is going to become harder and harder to fill because our bucket list is now done. Now what do I do? Do I matter? I want to hear from you. This article is really poignant, and it is everything that we talk about in life planning. Is a central part of what retirement planning should be, but generally is not. So I want to hear from you. If you've been retired for more than 5 years, is retirement after 5 years, after the go-go years, after you've done all your bucket list and everything, is it still everything that you want for it to be? How do you stay meaningfully engaged? Do you matter? Are you having an identity crisis? And if you're not, how are you managing to stay happy? And then the last story was something, this article, it basically says, some surprising facts to know about assisted living. And the biggest surprising fact up there, one of the surprising facts, it says, there's no one-stop shopping where you can actually get the information about around assisted living places. Well, we'll talk about the factors they're talking about, but we'll talk about also the fact, are you kidding me? There is no one-stop shop. What do you think Aging Options is? We'll talk about as to how we fill that gap. If you have any questions, give us a call at 206-421-1000. And today, Brian, we also have a seminar in Bellevue. This is the last of the series. And if you happen to be on the east side, you're thinking retirement, you just want to give 1 hour of your time to good education about how to secure your future, go to lifepointlaw.com, register, or just show up.
We have a lot of ground to cover today. Obviously, stay with us. Aging Options continues in just a moment. We want to get your questions, though. We want to get you as a part of the show. Give us a call. 206-421-1000 is the number to call, and we'll get you lined up to talk to Rajiv. That's 206-421-1000. We'll be right back. The buck doesn't stop here. Hi, this is Brian Calvert, letting you know that you can learn more by going to AgingOptions.com for blogs, videos, and the Aging Options portal. Visit AgingOptions.com for blogs, videos, and the Aging Options portal.
I'm not a wealthy person, but I'd like to leave a little something to my kids when I'm gone.
Actually, there's someone who gets first shot at your assets when you die, before your kids can even touch them, the tax collector and creditors.
I don't know much about estate and inheritance taxes. I've heard about changes in tax laws, but it's a little complicated, so I just try not to worry about it.
Far too often, the cost of probate and estate taxes forces children to sell off their parents' assets, leaving little for them.
I'd at least like for them to have this house. After all, they grew up here, and we'd like to keep it in the family. They say you can't take it with you. I just didn't realize it was the tax collector who said it.
The elder law attorneys at LifePoint Law understand probate and estate taxes. They know how to protect your assets and your legacy. You can trust LifePoint Law and Rajiv Nagaich. Call 877-ELDER-47. That's 877-ELDER-47.
Northwest News Radio traffic, sponsored by Northwest Crawl Space Services.
Some very heavy and slow traffic now northbound on I-5, beginning around Mercer Street, continuing across the Ship Canal, all because of the road work on the Ship Canal Bridge. No accidents to tell you about, but just heavy traffic and one fewer lane. If you are not getting off in downtown Seattle, take the express lanes through downtown. It will get you across the Ship Canal significantly faster this morning. Southbound lanes of I-5 look okay as you're coming south from Linwood, although you will run into a little bit of heavy volume. It'll be tough to change lanes once you get past 50th Street heading across the Ship Canal Bridge this morning. Elsewhere in the area, things don't look bad. 405 is in great shape from one end to the other, from Linwood all the way down to Renton and South Center, and the other way also looks good. And both I-90 and 520 crossing Lake Washington are both in great shape this morning. No problems to tell you about there. Through Tacoma and the Central Sound, I-5 and Highway 16 both looking good as you make your way through, and crossing over the Narrows onto the peninsula, Highway 16 is running fine. In the Northwest News Radio Traffic Center, I'm Brian White.
Now, back to Aging Options, right here on Northwest News Radio.
Great to have you with us this morning. And if you'd like to talk with Rajiv, the number is 206-421-1000, 206-421-1000. We have a seminar today in Bellevue. It starts at 11:30 this morning, Rajiv. And this is something that we can go to the website, lifepointlaw.com, and register in advance. Or just like last week, you had a handful of folks, they heard it on the show and they just showed up, right?
And which is just the right way to do it. Because, look, retirement is something we're all going to face. But how to make sure that you're going to get it right? Give me an hour and I'll show you exactly what you need to do to get it right.
Where are you going to be in Bellevue today?
Today in Bellevue, we are going to be at the Courtyard by Marriott at 11010 Northeast 8th Street. It's right there. It's right off 405. It's not that difficult to get to, and there's free parking up there. You can just park in the garage, come on up, give me an hour, and we can talk about it.
Okay, if you can, go to lifepointlaw.com and register before you go. If you can't, just show up at 11:30 there at the Courtyard in Bellevue, and we can sign you up there at the table right before things begin. That's fine. Suppose I don't have time to go to the seminar today, but I really do want to talk with you and your staff, Rajiv. You do have appointments available where I can come into the office and spend some time with you, right?
We do, Brian, and this is something we don't talk enough about, is that, several months ago, this is going about 6, 7, 8 months ago, close to a year, I suppose, we started offering free appointments, because there are a lot of people who say, I don't want to come to a seminar, I'm not a groupie, I don't want to be part of that diaspora, I don't mind just coming down. So we started offering something called a free assessment appointment. Go to lifepointlaw.com. You can just book an appointment, and what you will get, you will work with somebody, a life planner, who will take a look at your retirement planning, and they'll tell you as to where your weaknesses are, what you need to do to go ahead and get things kind of tightened up a little bit so you can have a successful retirement. And if you have specific questions, they can point you to how to get the right answers to those questions, not just a sales pitch.
Okay, so we came up with 3 ways to connect with Rajiv. You can go to this seminar today in Bellevue. You can go to lifepointlaw.com and you can sign up for a future appointment. Or you can take advantage of the fact that Rajiv is on the radio right now, and you can call him just like Jennifer did. She's on the line. Jennifer, you're on with Rajiv. What question do you have for him?
He was just wondering how it was after you retired. And I've been retired 11 years. And I had a pension. I retired at 56 and a half. The first full year, 2 years, I went over. My dad had died a couple years prior. My stepmom released the farm to us. And so I worked on it, trying to get, cleaned up and everything, get it sold for the family. I'm the youngest of 4, and none of them were retired. So, anyway, I helped my sister and financially and, just all that. And my brother died before we got the oldest brother.
Oh, no.
Before we got the farm sold. And I don't know, it's just sad. And then my mom, I was helping them out, and then they got in a wreck, and she got blood on the brain. So then she was having memory issues, and they wanted me to stay over there, but my stepdad is so toxic, I couldn't do it. But I ran back and forth for 2 years. He put her in assisted living, and then he quit paying, and so I brought her home for 2 years, and then it really wore me out. So
oh my!
I had to put her. Yeah, I had to put her in a memory home, memory care, and she just passed away. He passed away in September of 23, and then my mom just passed away in December.
Wow! So. Boy, retirement started. So you've been retired 11 years. You've had a lot of history in those 11 years. Lost your brother, had to take care of your mom. You had to help sell the farm. So all that hopefully is behind you. What are you doing with your time today? Hopefully all that bad stuff is behind you.
It's not. My stepdad, he said he wasn't going to make it easy on us, and he filed bankruptcy, and
That's your dad, you said? Your dad is the one who filed the bankruptcy?
No, my stepdad.
Your stepdad,
So,
okay,
and,
yeah.
Yes, and he did that in like 2022, and we're still trying to sell the place that they had, and it's in an HOA, and it was kind of messed up. People couldn't get title insurance. So
yes.
we couldn't sell, and so we, got that all cleaned out, and have had it on for sale. Had 2 offers, and we just couldn't sell it because it didn't have title insurance. And so they finally just this last week, got it situated in the park. So hopefully it's good to go from now on. So.
Wow. So so the question I was asking, the question I raised is, if you have been retired for more than 5 years, how is retirement working out? So in that vein, let me ask you a question. If you could reimagine retirement, let's say you could go back in time 11 years before you retired, would you do anything different?
I would have probably saved more money, but things like that. Maybe I would have done. I ended up taking. I had heard that when I did retire, that you should take money before you start. Because I was only like in my 50s, so anyway, they said to take money out when I was 59 and a half, right, out of my 401k.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that wasn't before I retired though. So, but I would have probably. I have a 40-year-old mobile home. I should have repaired it, but I worked a lot of hours, so that's probably what I would have done, is do more, I need new windows and stuff like that, siding. And
so financially you would have done something different. Do you have a financial planner? Do you have somebody that you work with now?
I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for the call, for calling in. And Jennifer, dare I say that, if you are still thinking, here's the thing that I'm trying to at least bring out to the people, to the listeners of the show. It's never too late to look at the rest of your life. You've already had 11 years go behind you now, but you still have many, many, many more years ahead of you. So the question really is not what did I do yesterday? The question is, where am I today? Where do I want to be? And what is the shortest way for me to go ahead and get there? And that is going to be, you start taking lessons from your mom ended up in a care facility. You had to take care of it. Your sister was there taking care of them. Somebody was not paying a bill when she ended up in assisted living. So what lesson do you learn? I mean, how do you make sure that you don't end up becoming your mom? And I dare say that when your mom was placed into assisted living, or when she had to come live with you, then from there go to memory care, probably the hardest days on her were the days that she had to leave the familiarity where she was living and go to some other place. So what are you going to do to make sure that this does not happen to you? And for that, let me just suggest this to you and every other listener. Take an hour and a half of your time, go to one of the seminars. Because the work that I do started with a similar story that yours. My father-in-law had Alzheimer's. I was not a lawyer at that point in time. This is back 23 years ago. And he ends up in a nursing home, runs out of all the money, and that's when I was meeting him. And from that day, when I went back to law school, the single goal that I had, what do we need to do to make sure that none of my clients, because they've done the right planning, better planning than my father-in-law had done, and better planning that your neighbors and your friends are telling you that you need to do, but which is all not going to get you where you are. I will make it my business to go ahead and help make sure that my clients do not end up in a nursing home, or that's not the only option that they're given, and they also don't become a burden to other people or run out of money. So do some education. Thank you for sharing your story, Jennifer. I'm so grateful that you called. And to the rest of you, go to a seminar so you can honestly say age on every time that you think about the rest of your life.
We do have a phone line open right now at 206-421-1000 if you have a question for Rajiv. There is a seminar in Bellevue today. It starts at 11:30. We have information for you at lifepointlaw.com. Aging Options returns in just a moment.
Northwest News Radio traffic, sponsored by Northwest Crawl Space Services.
Well, the Ship Canal Bridge is a real choke point in both directions of I-5 right now. Northbound, you're really hitting the brakes starting back around Mercer Street, continuing past 520 and getting onto the Ship Canal Bridge. That's only in the through lanes. The express lanes are fine, and if you're not getting off in downtown Seattle or need to get off in the University District, stay on the express lane side and you'll get across the Ship Canal much faster. Southbound lanes of I-5 look fine until you get to around 50th Street. That's where things start to jam up a little bit. It won't be real slow, but it's going to be really tough for you to change lanes. There's not a lot of real estate there on the southbound side. Once you get into downtown, though, it's full lanes down to I-90, but then you're fine from there down to South Center. If you're heading to SeaTac, you should be okay. 405 on the east side looks okay in both directions. Between Linwood and Renton, you're in good shape. Not seeing any major issues through Renton right now. A little bit of heavy traffic, but nothing to slow you. In the Northwest News Radio Traffic Center, I'm Brian White.
You're listening to Aging Options on Northwest News Radio. Here's elder law attorney Rajiv Nagaich.
Great to have you with us on the show today. 206-421-1000 if you have a question for Rajiv. We just had Jennifer call and share her story. If you are retired 5 years or more, what would you do differently now that you've done it? If you could do something different, how would you do it differently? What have you done that you maybe consider a success so far? We'd love to hear your stories. Rajiv is interested in hearing how you've done it and maybe helping you along as you continue your journey in the road of retirement this morning. 206-421-1000 is the number you call.
And Brian, let's talk about these stories that we have. The first story that we have that I want to talk about is the money mistakes that people can end up making, which will then require them to work longer than what they would have to. And I kind of teased out that the biggest mistake people make about money, it's not even on this list. Okay. So we'll talk about that as a bonus. So the 5 mistakes that this article is talking about, and take a moment, go to either lifepointlaw.com, and right on the page, there's the blog page, you can read it. And the stories really talk about that. The first thing that people end up doing is they keep expanding their expense stent. Right? Money comes in, I got a raise. Well, there's other stuff that I've always wanted to do. So we do that. We don't save that money. We don't do other things. That's one mistake they're talking about. Another one is we never really track the small leakages that are happening. Little money. I'm getting a latte. I just want to go ahead and do this. Maybe I give somebody $10. We never track how much that leakage amounts to. Totally agree with that one. I think that would be a good thing.
And it's really hard to do that in this day where we use the debit card for everything and you don't keep track of all that little amount. I can understand how that gets away from you.
Well, you know, the psychology behind that is in the good old days when you didn't have credit cards, you had to use cash. Mm-hmm. People thought about, do I really need this?
Yep.
Today, when you're giving a plastic card, there's no money going in and out. You just do it without even thinking about the whole thing.
Darn modern conveniences.
The reality. Okay, the third thing is, people keep charging the credit card even when they have balances. So this is really going back to the topic that we talked about, that if you don't have the money, what the heck are you doing buying stuff for on credit with a future paycheck? So that's a mistake people make. Not having an emergency fund, meaning you're not saving anything. And then the last thing they're talking about is spending the windfalls that you may end up befalling. So you get an inheritance. You maybe win a scratch lottery ticket and you get $10,000. And all of a sudden you find a good use for that $10,000. Maybe an RV, maybe a big screen TV, maybe a cruise somewhere. So, you know, we're not saving money. See, these are all good things. I think these are things to pay attention to. But do I agree with 100% of them? Heck no. But at least these are the mistakes that pop culture is telling you. that you need to go ahead and avoid making. And this one comes from the New York Times. So it's not that it's coming from some riffraff magazine or somebody else's head. This is printed in New York Times. What is the single biggest mistake they're not even talking about, Brian?
I've been on the edge of my seat since the top of the hour. You've been teasing this the whole time.
And I'll tell you what the single biggest mistake is. People focus on money for the sake of money. How much money do I have? You know, think about it this way. You hear all sorts of financial shows. You hear all sorts about wisdom. You read articles. It's about money, how to invest. You need a long-term care policy. You need to... Why? Why do I need all this stuff? That question never gets asked. $80 million was not enough for Casey Kasem for him to be able to live out his life at home. Why do you think all the amount of effort you're going to expend on eking every nickel out of the market that you can is going to give you a better result? The biggest mistake we never make is recognizing that in the end, the amount of money is less important than how your money will be used when you are no longer captain of your own ship. We never talk about that issue. And I just get so frustrated listening not only to the professionals who are saying, hey, we can show you how to go ahead and invest better, do this, that. That's important. I get that. That is important. Having money is important. Jennifer's call made sure that happened. Mm-hmm. But what is more important? And what are you not even paying attention to? That's the seminar. Okay. So if this kind of even catches your attention, have you ever thought to yourself, I am going to have a goal to save this much money? What for? What do you want out of life? Come to the seminar and I'll show you how to redesign your question menagerie so you're asking the right questions, so you're getting the right answer.
Okay, so before we go to the news break, let's remind everybody there is a seminar today. It's free. If you can sign up in advance at lifepointlaw.com, that's awesome. If you can't, just show up at the door when it opens at 11:30. Rajiv, I've already forgotten where it is today. I know it's in Bellevue.
It's at Courtyard by Marriott in Bellevue on Northeast 8th.
Okay, Courtyard by Marriott in Bellevue, Northeast 8th, 11:30. We will see you there, and Aging Options continues in just a moment.
ABC News, I'm Mike DeBusky. Police in Georgia have now re-released the name of the suspected shooter in yesterday's deadly incident in Atlanta. 30-year-old Patrick Joseph White allegedly opened fire at an intersection that borders both Emory University and the Centers for Disease Control. White was killed in the incident, as was a police officer. President Trump is now set to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska next week to talk about the war in Ukraine. Trump has suggested Russia and Ukraine could trade territories.
Ukraine's Zelensky rejecting the suggestion of swapping territory, saying in a statement overnight, Ukraine is ready for real solutions that can bring peace. Any solutions that are against us, any solutions that are without Ukraine, are at the same time solutions against peace. Critics calling the summit a gift to Putin, accusing him of stalling as the war drags on.
ABC's Selena Wang, a SpaceX spacecraft carrying 3 astronauts, has successfully returned to Earth. This is ABC News.
When you need to know, Northwest News Radio, 97.7 AM 1000. Now, this hour's top local stories with Rich Johnson.
The Washington Federation of State Employees says one of its members and her son are now in ICE custody. The union says Sarah Shaw and her 6-year-old son were detained at the Canadian border. They were driving home to Everett from the Vancouver area. The two are now at a detention center in Texas. Shaw works at the Echo Glen Children's Center in Snoqualmie. No comment from ICE. It's been a big mess the past month with the lane closures on I-5 at the Ship Canal Bridge, along with the full-time use of the express lanes northbound. Going to get a lot worse next weekend. Another full closure. DOT spokesperson Tom Pierce says the clock is ticking for its crews.
It's really important for us to get some of this work done this summer because with the break that we need to take for the World Cup, we want to be sure that we can complete those 2 left lanes.
Pierce says after the World Cup games, they'll get back to finish the rehab on the northbound side of the Ship Canal Bridge. Then crews will do the same for months and months on the southbound side of the bridge, starting in 2027. 2 more bans on shellfish harvesting in Puget Sound thanks to high levels of biotoxins. One new order in Pierce County affects the beaches from Days Island to Point Fosdick. Then to the King and Kitsap County lines. King County is also banning digging for mussels, clams, and oysters along Calvos Passage on the west side of Vashon Island. That in addition to the existing closures, Alki Point to Dash Point, and then on the east side of Vashon Maury. 43 home runs now for Cal Raleigh. Last night's 8th inning homer accounted for all the runs. Mariners beating the Rays 3-2. Sunshine and near 80 today around the Puget Sound region, clearing 60 overnight. Then we hit the mid-80s in the sunshine on Sunday and Monday.
Northwest News Radio traffic, sponsored by Northwest Crawl Space Services.
Northbound I-5 definitely still slowing down coming out of downtown, heading across the Ship Canal. It's about a 30-minute drive or so heading from downtown into the North Sound right now. Southbound, you'll hit the brakes starting after 85th Street, now continuing across the Ship Canal Bridge with the heaviest delays right around 50th Street. Once you get across the Ship Canal into downtown, you should be in pretty good shape. A bridge inspection going on the northbound side of the Aurora Bridge. That has you down to a single lane and now some pretty slow traffic through the Queen Anne neighborhood going across the Ship Canal right now. As you move northbound on Aurora, you'll have to squeeze over into a single lane on the left, and it's going to be pretty slow going until 11 o'clock when that bridge inspection is complete. On the southbound side, all lanes are open, but just as a good neighbor sort of thing, if you can stay over to the right, it'll do some good because there's not a lot of room on the opposite side of the street for everyone to get by. Elsewhere, things don't look too bad. Both 90 and 520 crossing Lake Washington running without a problem. In the Northwest News Radio Traffic Center, I'm Brian White.
When you need the region's top local stories.
When you need traffic.
When you need news about your health.
When you need the latest tech updates.
When you need sports.
When you need up-to-date weather information.
When you need to know about fun events.
You, my friend, are in the right spot. This is your source for news and information.
When you need to know. Northwest News Radio, 97.7 AM 1000. Need help? You've come to the right place. Welcome back to Aging Options on Northwest News Radio.
Good to have you with us on this Saturday morning. We've been talking about, especially about those of you who have had success in retirement. You've been retired 5 years or more. The things that you've done to have that success. If you'd share some of your secrets with us, maybe you haven't had success, we'd love to hear from you too. As we kind of get all this information together, what's gone right for you? We'd love to share it with the audience. Rajiv has some thoughts as we plan ahead. Before we get too much further, though, I want to remind you that there is a retirement planning seminar planned for today in Bellevue at 11:30. It's at the Courtyard by Marriott. You can just show up, or you can go to lifepointlaw.com and register in advance. Rajiv, it was interesting to take the call earlier from Jennifer, hear that her retirement so far has been anything but great, but it's never really too late to turn these things around, is it?
It really is not, and it doesn't matter how much money you've got. It doesn't matter what your circumstances are. I think the best way to approach your future is to say, where am I today? Where really would I like to be? Be very clear about your goals, and then you work towards those goals. What's the shortest distance for me to get there? There's always a way. I mean, that's the way sports teams win. That's the way people who are uber successful, they win in life. And that's the way you and I can win in retirement as well. So the missing piece, of course, is how. How do I decide? What are my goals? So where do I go? And that's the article. One article we talked about was the money mistakes people make. And I'm saying the biggest mistake in money, you're not even asking the right question. How much money do we need to have? We live in the richest country in the world, for crying out loud, where 70% of Americans do not get to live out our lives at home. When do we start questioning the wisdom that more is better? Isn't it even more important for us to say, it doesn't matter how much money I've got, but what assurance do I have that when I am no longer able to use my own acumen to direct how the money is used, other people, my loved ones, my children, my family members, my agents, they will know how to use my money, so my life is what I want it to be. But that question is never asked in the financial circles. That doesn't make the financial industry money, so the question is not even on the table. So you need to be asking that question. It impacts you. Then there's another story we talk about, retirement future. And this is another thing that I see people make a big mistake on. They retire from work. I mean, I can't wait to retire from work. I'm sick and tired of working. And so we jump into retirement.
You're not sick and tired of working.
No,
you love your job.
Yeah, I mean, I love what I do. I truly and honestly love what I do. My wife is, we got some friends visiting us, and they're both now retired. And my wife was like, oh, we need to retire. And said, honey, what are you going to do with me 24 hours? I will freaking drive you insane and nuts.
See, I like how real you are, Rajiv.
So, no, I think, retirement, if it is for you, then understand this. I think one of the things that you will find in retirement, this article does a really good job of talking about someone who was successful, Nancy Schlosser, and she had retired, and then pretty soon she found out she doesn't have an identity. She doesn't matter anymore. And then she interviews a bunch of people. So she reinvents herself, and she's doing all this journalism, talking to hundreds, nay, thousands of people, and asking, what are you doing? What he's finding out is when people retire, after the first go-go years, after the bucket list is done, I've done enough cruising, I've done enough traveling and fun things, or money is now starting to pinch and I can't do everything that I want to. The one thing that gnaws at people in retirement is, I don't matter anymore. Right, the younger generation is, we'll take care of you. You don't have to get up. You don't have to do anything. We'll do the things for you. I don't matter.
It's almost an identity crisis.
It is an identity crisis.
A lot of us, and I have been accused of this. Your identity is what you do for work.
Exactly.
And then all of a sudden, if you're not working, then who are you?
Right. Exactly. And so that's the one thing that we do. And so what do you retire to? That should be part of retirement planning. Now, to be clear, there are several financial planners who actually make that as part of their planning methodology. That, we can help you with the money part of it. That's not a problem. But once you retire, how is this money going to keep you happy? It's one thing to retire, not have to worry about a boss who's nagging you, but you have nothing to do. If you don't matter, then you will give up on life. And that's when not good things happen. Great article to take a look at. Go to AgingOptions.com or go to LifePointLaw.com. Look at the blog up there. And the last article that I want to talk about is really near and dear to me. It is talking about assisted living facts. 5 surprising facts about assisted living. And here's the facts that they're talking about. Medicare doesn't cover the cost. And I'm surprised. And even today, the other day I was doing one of the seminars and someone said, but Medicare covers the cost. And I said, no, there's a difference between acute care and long-term care. The second thing they're talking about, surprising fact about assisted living, they don't have any professions. There's no skilled care there. Activities are daily living. Someone can give you pills. Somebody can help you into the shower and all that. They'll do that. But they may not be able to give you skilled care, which means that what you may end up needing is more than what the assisted living can actually provide. They're not set up to take care of medically complex issues. They're set up to take care of little things. The fourth fact they're talking about, the assisted living can kick you out. Money runs out, you become a nuisance in the facility. You're no longer welcome up here. Why would I want to move to a place where I don't have the permanence or the guarantee that I never have to move from again? That's a surprising fact. And the last surprising fact they're talking about, there's no one-stop shopping of getting advice. I'm saying, are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's not true. We already know the answer to that one.
Right. This is what we do. And the problem with retirement planning is people think about retirement in unrealistic terms. How much money do I have? Where will I be traveling? Where will I go? Do we ever realistically think about that if I get stuck in a hospital at 95 years of age because I fell down and broke my hip and I want to come back home, and the nurse is asking my child, which rehab center do you want to send your dad to? How do I want my child to answer the question? Right? That's not part of it. How can you say there's no one-stop shop? When we come back, we'll break it down. What is the better way for you to define retirement planning? And then again, if you have a chance, go to the seminar. I think that's the best thing that you can do for yourself. Give yourself an hour, give yourself the education. how to succeed, not fail in retirement.
We'll remind you where today's seminar is in just a moment. And right now, I want to remind you that our telephone number, if you want to call Rajiv and have a question for him right now, call 206-421-1000, 206-421-1000. We do have a line open at 206-421-1000. Hi, it's Brian Calvert thanking you for listening to Aging Options. For more great options to help guide your future, go to AgingOptions.com. That's AgingOptions.com and select blogs under the free Learning Center tab. AgingOptions.com.
You know, I'm not a wealthy person, but I'd like to leave a little something to my kids when I'm gone.
Actually, there's someone who gets first shot at your assets when you die, before your kids can even touch them. The tax collector and creditors.
I don't know much about estate and inheritance taxes. I've heard about changes in tax laws, but it's a little complicated, so I just try not to worry about it.
Far too often, the cost of probate and estate taxes forces children to sell off their parents' assets, leaving little for them.
I'd at least like for them to have this house. After all, they grew up here, and we'd like to keep it in the family. They say you can't take it with you. I just didn't realize it was the tax collector who said it.
The elder law attorneys at LifePoint Law understand probate and estate taxes. They know how to protect your assets and your legacy. You can trust LifePoint Law and Rajiv Nagaich. Call 877-ELDER-47. That's 877-ELDER-47.
Northwest News Radio traffic, sponsored by Northwest Crawl Space Services.
Still seeing the slowing on both sides of I-5 approaching the Ship Canal Bridge right now. Northbound, it'll slow down starting around Mercer Street. Southbound, it's mostly just heavy volume, although you will tap the brakes once or twice anywhere between 85th Street and the Ship Canal, so just be ready for it. It's mostly just full lanes of congestion, though, moving into downtown. Northbound on Aurora Avenue, you'll slow it down approaching the Aurora Bridge. You'll have to squeeze over into that left lane because of a bridge inspection that's going on until 11 o'clock this morning. Northbound 405 through Renton, a little bit crowded. Maybe you'll tap the brakes a little bit around 169. It doesn't look like it'll last too long, and it kind of comes and goes. If you hit it at the right time, you should be okay. Southbound, you're in great shape right now. No problems all the way from Linwood down through Bellevue and across I-90 down towards South Center. Heading down to Tacoma, no problems to report on I-5 either direction. A little bit of heavy traffic near JBLM where the lane drops heading down toward Olympia. In the Northwest News Radio Traffic Center, I'm Brian White.
Now, back to Aging Options, right here on Northwest News Radio.
We have a line open at 206-421-1000 if you have a question for Rajiv today. We promised you information about today's seminar. It is scheduled to begin at 11:30. It's at the Courtyard by Marriott in Bellevue. You may show up and register right there on site today. It's an hour of your time that you will not regret. You'll learn all about planning for your future and having a successful retirement. Again, it starts at 11:30 at the Courtyard by Marriott there on 8th in Bellevue. You can go to lifepointlaw.com and find out more information. Also, Rajiv, we want to make sure that if people don't have time for the seminar today, that they go to the website and schedule the time. You have a free opportunity, a consultation, if you will, to actually get acquainted with LifePoint Law. You said just in the last break, no such thing as one-stop shop for planning your retirement. Well, I know better because I know about LifePoint Law, and you guys really you take this holistic approach to planning for your future, don't you?
Absolutely. I think in retirement planning, when I mean, it all goes back to my own experience. How did I get into this area of work? Many years ago, I mean, I came from India many years ago, back in 1982, jumped on my flying carpet. Streets of America are paved to gold, so let's go there and we'll do things. My father had come here as a student, got educated, got his PhD, went back to India, did uber well, and so that really was part of the reason why I came here. Only I stayed back up here. So when I came here, I saw my father-in-law who was stuck in a nursing home after he had Alzheimer's. And the first time, Brian, that I went to the nursing home, I just shook my head, and I couldn't believe, how does the richest country in the world take care of their old people when they can no longer care for themselves? So I started looking into the system. At that time, I was working for all state insurance companies as a manager. So there was no answer. I mean, couldn't get him out, couldn't really understand. He had a financial planner, he had a lawyer, he had a doctor, he had an insurance agent. Everyone was saying, oh, I did my job. He came to me. This is what I did for him to help him get ready for planning. And I'm saying, who in the world did the job? When the man had Alzheimer's, everyone runs away. There was no answer to anything. So that's what took me back to law school. And I had to choose, do I go the medical route? Do I go the legal route? And I basically I rationalized that laws probably are what I need to understand as to how people plan. What are the legal rules around the planning that we end up doing, which give us these results that Bill had? And initially, I thought it'd just be a handful of people become Bill. Well, there's a Stanford study that I read over the years that said 70% of Americans do not live out their lives at home. And it just came hurtling to me. Oh, my God, this is a freaking epidemic. This is not something that just happens to one or two people. It happens to 70%, but no one's talking about that. So that's what then became, and in all my learning, here's what I understood. The reality in America is pretty simple. As long as you're healthy, you're going to be living the dream. It's when you lose your health that health issue is going to become a housing issue, because old people, disabled people, they shouldn't be living at home. They need to be cared for. Exactly where the old people don't want to go. Then it becomes a financial issue, because Medicare and your health insurance doesn't cover long-term care. And then it becomes a legal issue. Go see an elder law attorney. That's what my father-in-law didn't do. He went to just some attorney, got the wills, trust, powers of attorney. And the attorney was saying, that's not the type of work I do to understand why your father-in-law is stuck in a nursing home. So when you start pulling these pieces together and then you start going deeper into each vertical, then here's what you find out in law. Everything that we do from a legal perspective is stacked against the old people. Why? A 95-year-old person who falls down for the third time this week, the child, 60 years of age, is looking at dad. Oh, my God, my dad's in trouble. I got to do something. Go to the doctors, go to the medical community, go to friends. How do we take care of old people who are falling down for the third time, not safe at home? Some care facility. Well-meaning, well-intentioned ideas. Now, look at it through the 95-year-old's perspective. I'll agree if you put me into a group home, I'm 100% safe. I'll agree with you. But I'm 1,000% miserable. I would much rather be a little bit unsafe in my own home as long as I'm 100% happy. Right? These are two perspectives. And when these perspectives are going to collide, which they will for majority of Americans, the younger perspective will win out. Why? Because every law that is written, your estate planning laws, your guardianship laws, your vulnerable adult action laws, you talk about law after law. Every law is written by legislators who are 40 to 60. Every judge in a courtroom who's going to be adjudicating these laws, 40 to 60. Lawyers who advocate for you, 40 to 60, 65, 70. Who in this continuum has the perspective of the 95-year-old future you that even you don't have today? That's the problem. Even the consumers, even you and I as the public, when we go to a lawyer and say, help me, I want to do estate planning, you're doing it at a time when you're much healthier. But we are not equating that this work will be used when you're 95 falling down for the third time. Your perspective will be, I want to be happy more so than just safe. But the whole system, the legal system in America, is prized for safety over happiness. How can you win in this system? It's already rigged against you.
Well, you're not going to change the system at that point.
No, but you can do your planning. You can write your documents differently. You can look at healthcare differently. You can look at housing differently. Healthcare is not about, I have a doctor I can go see when I have a heart attack. Well, it's too late. If you don't want to end up in a nursing home, let me show you how not to fall ill longer. And there's studies that show that if you know how to pick the right people to be in your medical team, you can lower your risk of going to a nursing home by as much as 40%. Housing shouldn't be about what we think about. We're all running around in America. The average person's idea about housing is, I want to live in my house as long as I can, and when I fall ill, we'll figure something out. The worst way you're approaching housing. No one in their right mind should be saying, on the day that I fall ill is the day that it's okay for you to pluck me away from my home and stick me into a place that I don't know anyone. Everyone will be telling me what to do. I'll have no control over my life. I think what we should be saying is, the day that I fall ill, I want you to help me build a plan that says the care will come to me. My family is not going to be stuck as my unpaid caregiver, and I'm not going broke in the process. And the amount of money doesn't matter. $80 million, $50 million for Tim Conway, $15 million for Glenn Campbell, billions of dollars for Brooke Astor. What's common? all of them had some degree of mental instability, dementia. None of them is able to live out their life at home. What's the point of all this money? What's the point of just focusing on financial planning and how much money do we have, more, when in the end what you're going to find to be more important is give me a simple life. I don't want to be a burden. Don't throw me into a care facility against my wishes, and I don't want to die broke. Go to this seminar, for crying out loud. Don't just sit there on the sidelines. You can do better. But businesses are not designed to help you with this stuff. The government's job is not to go ahead and give you the structure where you don't end up in a nursing home. They just make the laws. And all these laws written by younger people, do they really understand what your perspective will be?
There's a seminar today in Bellevue. It starts at 11:30. It's the Courtyard by Marriott. You can find out more at lifepointlaw.com or just show up. 11:30 is the start time today. Find out more at lifepointlaw.com. We'll be back with the rest of our show today in just a moment.
Northwest News Radio traffic, sponsored by Northwest Crawl Space Services.
Still looking at heavy backups on northbound I-5 as you move through downtown Seattle, starting now before Mercer Street and crossing the Ship Canal Bridge. If you jump in the express lanes, there's a lot less traffic there, and you will get across the Ship Canal considerably faster. Southbound I-5 definitely slowing down now after 50th Street crossing over the Ship Canal, but be ready to tap the brakes anywhere south of Northgate Way heading down toward downtown Seattle. Looks like there may be a crash on the ramp from northbound 405 onto eastbound 522 in Bothell. I don't see it on the cameras, but it's backed up in that right lane approaching 160th Street. So be ready, and if you're staying on 405, stay to the left as you move northbound toward 522. Elsewhere on 405, a little bit of heavy traffic through Renton right now, maybe an on and off brake tap from 167 to Sunset Boulevard, and then again moving northbound from 30th Street. Anywhere from there up to I-90, you could tap the brakes. In the Northwest News Radio Traffic Center, I'm Brian White.
And now, more Aging Options on Northwest News Radio with Rajiv Nagaich.
We're back with Rajiv, and boy, I tell you what, it has been a show, and I learn something every week with you, Rajiv, and I think this week's message that has come home for me is that message of it's not about the amount of money. It's about how you planned to have that money used. And I don't want to be a burden to my family when I get to that point. I want to make sure that that plan's in place. And I know that I'm not going to have $80 million. I'm probably not going to have $3 million at that point. But if I've got the right plan, it doesn't matter how much money I have.
It doesn't. And I say this, I'll remind people this. You know, when I was taking care of my father-in-law and my mother-in-law, the middle-class Americans, house paid for, a few $100,000 in the bank, bill ends up in a nursing home, all that money runs out. My mother-in-law, after my father-in-law died, she lived with us for another 6 years after the fact. And she died of kidney cancer that had metastasized to the bones. And her total net worth, Brian, was $60,000. She was able to live out her life despite the fact she was incontinent, unambulatory, unable to care for her needs. Because in the end, it's not the amount of the money that matters, it's how you organize your affairs. If I can help people with less than $60,000 to be able to live out their lives at home, why can't I help you? What is the missing piece? That's the seminar. Come to the seminar, do yourself a favor.
All right, seminars in Bellevue today. 11:30 is when it starts. It's at the Courtyard by Marriott. If you can register in advance at lifepointlaw.com, that would be great. If not, just show up. We'll see you at 11:30 today at the Courtyard by Marriott on 8th in Bellevue.
Absolutely. And, you know, we talked about these stories. If you get a chance, go to lifepointlaw.com, take a look at the stories. If are you going to get impacted if you're on Obamacare? Will you have to start working? What are the rules? There's the story up there. The big mistakes people make when they are managing money. That story is there. That's got everything to do with you, your future, your retirement. The most purposeful retirement, take time to reimagine your future. Great story, you know. Will you matter when you're retired? You don't want to be unhappy in retirement. You're not going to get a job. Most old people don't get a job. And then facts you might know about assisted living. So all those stories are there. We'll come up with 4 more stories, and we'll be talking to you next week, same time, same place. Till then, Age on, Seattle.
LifePointLaw.com is where you go to find out more information. Don't forget our seminar today starts at 11:30 in Bellevue at the Courtyard by Marriott.
The preceding program was paid for by LifePoint Law.